got wine today.
Sorry, I still don't know how to do this, but it's fine. We'll let her in. We'll just let her have, the thing before I put Lizzie off with it.
Okay, everyone, just getting yourselves nice and comfortable in either a cross-legged position, or if you're on a chair, just lengthen through the spine, maybe gently placing your palms on your knees, or you can have your palms on top of one another in your lap. Gently roll those shoulders down away from the ears, ever so slightly tuck the chin in, and maybe close your eyes, or you can take a light gaze, whatever is feeling right for you in this moment. And let's just begin now by arriving. As you arrive, let's settle in, tune in, become aware. Just noticing any external sensations outside of us just for a moment. Just observing with curiosity as the witness, as the bystander. Just noticing any external sensations, so any sounds, any smells, and perhaps the temperature against your skin. Can you observe without forming any judgment? And if the mind is judging, that's okay. But can you let go of that judgment if that's possible? So gently now taking your attention away from the outside space to the space within all of us, so our beings. And as you go within, just for a moment, just doing a little check-in, just acknowledging how you're feeling this evening. And just noticing where that's coming from in the mind or the body. Can you just gently and briefly pinpoint where that is? And once you've just gently and briefly pinpointed where that is, can you now take a deep inhale through the nose and send your breath down into where that tension, that tightness is? And then maybe just gently exhale it gently out the mouth. Take another deep inhale, send your breath down into that place that you've pinpointed, where those feelings, those thoughts, those emotions are arising from. And then take a steady exhale, maybe out the mouth. Take another deep inhale. And exhale it all out. And as you exhale it all out, just allow that body just gently melt towards the earth. So just feeling your sitting bones in the chair, in the ground. Just allow those shoulders to drop away from the ears a little bit further. Just feeling the gentle press of your feet against the ground, feeling that support of the earth. And then just feeling the relaxation in the knees, in the legs. Maybe feeling the relaxation in the hips. And then from the hips, maybe just moving up the spine one vertebrae by vertebrae at a time. Just feel that length and height in the spine, nice and relaxed, nice and light. Coming all the way up now to the neck, and then the crown of the head, and then to the face. And as you come up to the face, see if you can allow the whole face to soften. Just relax the creases in the forehead. Allow the eyes to roll back into the sockets. And then just gently part the lips. Just bring the tongue to the roof of your mouth. And then just start to focus on the inhale and the exhale. Nice and steady in and out through the nose. Spending a few moments here observing the breath at the nostrils. And as you observe the breath at the nostrils, can you maybe also become aware of the movement of your belly with the breath? Maybe noticing on the inhale the belly rising, moving out. The exhale, the belly gently drawing in. spending a few moments here with this breath, just becoming aware if your mind is wandering, if it's urging you to do anything other just than this very simple task of breathing, which can sometimes seem complicated when the mind is busy. That's okay, just keep refocusing, coming back to that breath. Deep inhale now, and a deep exhale. Deep, steady inhale, deep, steady exhale. Deep inhale, and a deep exhale. So once you feel like you've gained a sense of control of the breath, a steadiness in the breath, we're just going to move on to just a short little breathing exercise, alternate nostril breathing. So if you need to open your eyes here just to see what I'm doing, that's okay. Gently bring your right thumb to your right nostril. Keep those shoulders nice and relaxed here. Now I'd like you just to begin by exhaling out the left nostril. Complete the exhale, then inhale through the left. Complete the inhale, then block off the left nostril with your ring finger, and then exhale out the right. Inhale through that right. Then block off the right, exhale out the left again. Inhale through the left. Block it off, and then exhale out the right again. Inhale right. Block it off, exhale left. Inhale left. Block it off, exhale right. Inhale right. Block it off, exhale left. Inhale left. Exhale right, block off the left. Inhale right. Block off, exhale left. Let's do one more round. Inhale left. Block it off, exhale right. Inhale right. Block it off, exhale left. And just release that. Release the right hand or the left hand, whichever hand you're using. Just coming back to center, maybe keeping the eyes closed for a moment. And just acknowledging the breath in the nostrils. And then just noticing your internal environment as well in the body and in the mind too. Just spending a moment here, maybe feeling a little bit more stillness within. And then when you're ready, just gently opening the eyes.
I could have stayed there forever tonight. I didn't want it to end. Thank you, Lizzie. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hopefully everyone feels like they've arrived and are present in our bodies, which is the main thing. Fantastic. Okay. Right. So today we're going to be debriefing most of the session on values. So I firstly just want to give us a chance to just kind of go around the table and share one of our values. Like we said, we're going to get to the point where we're going to wear it like a badge of honor, and these will become fiercely part of yourselves, that almost you want to introduce yourself and almost like, you know, introduce your values with it. But also when you meet someone, it's going to be a question that you kind of are going to want to know like what theirs are. Like it will get to that point where it's such a staple kind of part of of who we are, which is really powerful. But yeah, I just thought it'd be nice to share a little bit of how we've connected to our kind of, and don't, it hasn't got to be your favorite, but it's maybe one that you know you have a bit of a story around why, really. So yeah, who would like to? Actually, I'll jump in first because I redid mine literally this week because I'm working with a coactive coach. I trained with coactive, and I'm actually now working with a coactive coach, which is really cool as well. For me, for her to mirror my content, our content back to almost me, and me do it as well for the second time, which is really important. So one of mine is trust, and it wasn't trust. I didn't have a value of trust 2 years ago when I did it. So for me, that felt really powerful because it was really different. And for me, that feels like surrender. It feels like letting go. It feels like the fact that there's something that it's almost that feeling of unlimited possibilities. That's what trust feels like to me. And when trust is present in my life, um, there's not very much speed, actually. Things slow down because I'm not trying to get through the to-do list. I'm not trying to tick everything off. I'm letting myself be in that moment. So I thought I'd share that just to kick us off because it gives you a perspective as to how mine are changing all the time as well. Lizzie, I'm going to pick on you first, if that's all right, as I always do.
Yeah, so one of my values was joy. And I felt like one thing I actually found was like I had quite a few values and I was like trying to like narrow them down to 5 and I was grouping them together. And so I found that like love and joy were quite deeply connected. Because for me, joy essentially is coming back to our true essence. That's how I feel. And for me, when I think of joy, I think of being present in this moment. I think of feel that I'm letting go of worries when I'm in a joyful state. And it very much aligns with, you know, where I am currently on my path. So, you know, I feel like I'd like to bring joy to others through obviously the practice of yoga and meditation. So yeah, that's my value that I've picked today.
Thank you for sharing. That's amazing. Thank you for kicking us off. Anyone want to jump in next?
I don't mind. Yeah, I enjoyed the visualization. I found that really helpful to kind of think of like my ideal self or how I want to be, but things stop me. And yeah, there's some crossover in some of the values. So I picked connection as one of mine, kind of connection / friendship, because I know that is really important to me. I've put so important to me. Without connection, I wither, and I drew a little flower that's drooping. But I think it's from a few things that have happened in my life. So I had a bit of a false start when I went to university. I found it really difficult to adjust to having my solid group of friends who know me so well to sort of landing somewhere without that. So I felt really, a bit isolated when I started. I ended up dropping out and going to another uni the following year, which worked out really well. But yeah, it came back again when I was a new mum, and I felt very isolated and very disconnected from the world, being at home with a little baby. So yeah, it's a theme that's sort of run through for me. And I know even if it's just going for a walk and smiling and say hello to someone or chatting a coffee shop, it doesn't matter how small it is, but that connection to the world is so important to me.
Amazing. Yeah. Thank you. And it's great to hear that theme of consistency with that one, because values will fall away and evolve, but some will fiercely stay because that link to our truth, isn't it, from childhood innocence? So actually it's great that you've honored the fact that that's a key theme and it's present in all those kind of different stages as well in some way.
Yeah.
Thank you. Fiona, I'm gonna pick on you next.
I actually used, well, I went with the 5 that we know from the quiz that we did online, because I thought I just wanted to look at them a bit more. So authenticity was one of mine. And yeah, I just think it's there's so many people that they're trying to be somebody else, or they're
Yeah, that's a big one.
just, yeah, I just yeah, I don't know, I don't really have words for it, but that's a big one for me. It's a main one that's quite important.
And I know you were messaging me a bit about the kind of feeling or where you felt that
Yeah.
in your body, and I think I said to Lizzie earlier that we don't have to worry about that now. I think because we started talking about our body and feelings last week, it might have kind of put some pressure on some of you to find it and be like, where is this, but actually it's about connecting with the feeling first, because then actually you'll be able to then over time place it. But don't let that kind of worry you, the fact that you're kind of trying to almost force that at the moment. But I would ask you, Fiona, like when you're in alignment, or when you're being authentic, can you explain how that feels?
No, I don't. Feelings I'm kind of struggling with just now, to be honest. I'm doing a course on psychotherapy and yoga, and basically how emotions and everything are stored in the body. And I just don't. It's something I really struggle with. I can't pick up on. I could pick up on feelings. I'm not like a sociopath, but I can't. Just to clarify, but I can't pick up feelings. Like I can't tell you how they make me feel. I just draw a blank. I have nothing. It's.
Okay,
I
so
was
let me
speaking.
ask you a different question then. Tell me a way that you honor your value of authenticity through action or behavior.
I think it's just so for me, it's just acting the same in every environment and not having that.
Consistency? Is it about consistency?
Yeah, I think so, and not having like the different cloaks that you put on depending on where you are. So like we've spoken about before, being in like a male-dominated work environment, and yeah, it's just different things to different people, and it's just stopping being that based on other people's expectations, I think.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think, again, those kind of, what I'll do is I'll write you a few questions around digging into that a bit more. That's not the feeling, but it's the action. Because actually, if you can place the daily action, or like maybe at the weekend when you were or weren't doing that, and then you can connect to how that felt, that'll come next. But actually it starts with the daily action or behavior, and actually that's probably where we need to start here. So when you are authentic versus when you're not, and how that looks different, like what isn't present, when you're not being authentic. Let's think of it as action, behavior, words, a lot of that to start with, because that's easier to dig out.
Because I think as soon as someone says to me, think of feelings, I'm like, nah, no thanks, I'm done. As soon as someone mentions the feeling word, I'm like, nah, I'm out. Next.
Yeah, I really resonate in the, let's not even talk on that language at the moment. It's about action and behavior, and let's stick with that, because then the feeling will come.
No, I feel like even you saying that feels better. Yeah.
Amazing.
Okay, if you could send me them, thank you.
No problem. I literally really resonate with that, because I was just saying to Lizzie, that's where I am in my own journey, in that it's getting easier, but it's that second layer of healing. Like, think of mind, body, spirit, mind, body, spirit. There's 3 layers almost. So it's natural that it doesn't all come straight away. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm pretty similar to you actually, Fiona. So I'm kind of, I've got 3 and I can't pick. So it's kind of like authenticity, growth, and free spirit. And I think this kind of fits with the kind of childhood essence stuff around kind of like being unapologetically me, and like not kind of putting on all these cloaks, Fiona, I think, as you said, and kind of just coming back to kind of who I am and what I want, and being really in tune with that, and like kind of also like being able to say no, and being able to kind of, potentially I've got a few people in my life that I've been doing some thinking around, do I want them in my life? Actually, are they kind of good people for me to have around? So there's kind of a lot of that in there. And I think that's kind of really important to me at the moment, and kind of growing like who I am.
because I haven't really ever done that. And I think especially now, because I'm living alone, I have a lot more time to kind of just be with myself and be with my thoughts, and like actually kind of be like, okay, this is refreshing. I don't have to like deal with anyone else. I don't have to think about anyone else. Like, and it's like really weird, but it's really like nice as well, because I've never really had that space and time, I guess. So.
It's a beautiful opportunity, isn't it? And your energy is not getting mixed up with anyone else's energy as well. So you can like really kind of focus on yourself. And what is, if free spirit is present in your life, can you place what that looks like in terms of behavior, or what does a day look like when you're feeling particularly free spirited, for example?
I think it's again, just kind of, I think definitely like now I kind of spend a lot more time in the garden. It's kind of being with that kind of nature, and like just like I can always hear the birds, and just kind of just sitting with that, and like walking bare feet on the grass, and just allowing myself just to almost just be like, just be like, I don't have to be busy, I don't have to be doing anything, I don't have to be like not focusing on stuff, just kind of that really mindfulness, like almost like that free, like just being free of stuff. Like
free of stuff. I love that.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Like, I need that in my life more. Like that feels like, oh, beautiful. Yeah, I know what you mean. Okay, thank you. That's really helpful. I'm just digging into them a bit more because I'm just interested. I'm just being nosy. Caroline, and you've done this before, Caroline. So I'm interested to see if the same ones you kind of owned and kind of connected with in the same way, or was there any kind of changes? Which one did you go for?
No, I mean, I redid mine again, because although obviously we did them in January, I thought it'd be interesting to see, and I got 5 completely different ones, so which is good. So I've got honesty, authenticity, respect, curiosity, and pleasure, which is really interesting, because I feel that with pleasure, that's something I need to have more of in my life in order to get that balance. And I've noticed that, well, certainly in the last couple of weeks, I've been trying to do more things for me to sort of allow me to sort of get away from my sort of very hectic sort of daily routine. So last Friday, my niece and I, we took ourselves off to a spa for the day, which was just amazing.
Definitely honouring the value of pleasure there. That's perfect.
Absolutely, absolutely. And yeah, it was just really nice to spend some quality time with my niece, and you know, and just relax and not have to sort of worry and rush, and you know, just enjoy being in sort of lovely sort of warm water, because we were in the jacuzzi, we were in the hydrotherapy pool, and then they had a lovely garden room, so you're just able to sort of sit back and, you know, look outside and things. So no, that was lovely, that was really nice. So
perfect. So that feels like that's one you want to kind of explore into a little bit, of like, when
definitely.
Like a good question to ask yourself throughout the week. When am I honoring that value, and kind of what ticks that values box, because it's not about the word, it's about connecting to kind of the feeling and the kind of the action behind that, really, because that'll be quite personal to you, really. But it's amazing the fact that that's completely changed. I had an alumni call with the Journey Within guys that finished last month, and you guys will be invited to that at the end as well. But all their values completely changed from the beginning, and that was amazing. And there's so much beauty in that. And actually, weirdly, none of us had trust, and we all had trust by the end.
Wow.
And I loved that. It was just like our collective value that we all had, you know, embraced and fallen into. I think it shows how much, this will change, but it's great to do it, you know, for the first time. And did everyone use the personal values quiz, or did some of you kind of dip it? Some of you used that, some didn't. Yeah. So again,
no, I did the quiz.
Yeah, so different ways to suit you guys. Thank you, Emma.
Sorry, having button issues. So I've done it before, and I've really struggled with this. And I think it was because the values that I got the last time I did it were all around kind of friendship, connection, love, and that does make sense. But I think when we were talking about feelings last week, sort of sitting there actually thinking, well, that's not who I am and what I do now. And I think kind of this last week, it's been a bit of a rubbish week at work, so I've not necessarily been in the right mindset, and so I've come to this and actually started again, did the quiz again, and ended up with what I would consider some pretty negative values. And actually, if I'm honest, they are the values that I use to make decisions at the moment, but I don't necessarily think that they are values that help me. And that I need to effectively, maybe, and just having this conversation now, I need to go back to the actions and do different actions to then maybe link into different values.
Yeah.
Because the ones that came out, I absolutely, their control, security, privacy, acceptance, and reputation.
Yeah.
All 5 of those, I absolutely make decisions about my life on. I absolutely do. But I don't think that's a good way to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, you might find that, and it's really interesting because I do this work a lot in groups, like in corporate settings, and those really strong masculine ones often come up, right? Especially if we're in a global pandemic. It's like, what is it to hold on to? Like, oh my God, what's going on? But actually, this process is about bringing in more of the feminine, in more of the in more of the trust, kind of in more of the softer ones. And actually, you'll find that in time you can let them go. And it's okay if at the moment that's kind of like, they're kind of strongly being held on to, because actually you need to go through the process of realizing actually where they're not serving you, or what the cost is. So I'll ask you, what is the cost of certainty? Because they all have a cost, right? They all have a flip that actually restricts you. And that's the bit you'll understand through this process.
Yeah. And I think that's where it's been quite an interesting, I don't necessarily feel proud of those values.
But it's really important to honor the fact that they've served you really well as well. They've got you to an awesome job, like to an awesome point in your life in so many ways. Because I say that about my masculine values. Like, I always kind of used to beat myself up about it, but I'm like, they did serve me for a point in my life. So it's about saying thank you, but actually saying that actually I'm looking for something a bit different now, so they did serve you, and there was a place for them, but they might not be serving you now, and that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, come back to some actions. I'm loving the idea of a spa day. And,
that's and then the action of today is we all need to go there. That would be amazing.
and if I do different things, does that also then kind of impact the values? Will be really interesting, I think so.
Yeah, thank you. That's a really interesting perspective. I think it's really important to hear, because they're not always, your values aren't always completely, we talk a lot about like, who are we now and who are we becoming? So your values are not only who you are now, but who you are becoming. And that's kind of what I think you're saying here, and that they are who you are now, but they're not necessarily who you are becoming. So there's this kind of evolution process that's coming in with this as well. Amazing. Thank you. And Francesca or Maria, who wants to go first? Francesca, go for it.
I do. That's all right. I really resonated with Emma, actually, in terms of the test ones. When I look at them, they're definitely things that I strive for now, or think that I should have as values. So I got appreciation, health, security, success, and financial stability. And I'm not saying that they're wrong, and I sort of did resonate with them, but they're not what I want to be. So in my sun-drenched day-to-day that I had this afternoon, I've been thinking about them over the past few years. I took this straight away last week, and I've been thinking about them. And I came up with a few, and I actually called a friend as well who's going on a similar journey. And it's really funny because family always comes up. It came up last week when we did it. But that isn't the one I think that has been the top of my list, if that's the question you're asking. Actually, freedom and independence came out top, which I guess kind of, it comes along with authenticity a bit, and me being me. And I was thinking, I've literally written like, how does it feel? But me time, being selfish, being on my own, setting my own targets and my own time. And it got me thinking about, because I wrote when we were doing the survey bit as well, when was the time that I felt, really good. And that was when I went to Rio to volunteer at the Olympics in 2016 for 3 weeks. I left my daughter. Caveat: I love my husband and my daughter more than anything else in the world, but it was she was a year and a half. She was my husband and my parents and all, and I went off and I was free. And I think it was really amazing because although I was doing something, I was working 6 days a week as a volunteer, and it was so freeing. And I'm an only child. I love my independence. I've always was really good at playing on my own, and I really like that. I like being on my own, but it's different as an adult. And when you have a husband and when you have a child or children, or and actually having that time to you, and I value that time. I need that time. And there were, family did come in my way, and then I thought about what is family? Is it my family of my husband and my daughter? Is it my family of my parents? Is it my family? And I thought, is family my support network? Is that my value more? And sorry, I literally, my brain has been doing this at 100 miles an hour, but it's really, really interesting because sort of things that I put down when I did think about the meanings to them, they were very different from those initial thoughts. But yeah, sorry, that was a monologue and a half.
really helpful, especially on the family one, right? Because there's a bit of like, well, I have to choose family, because if I don't choose family, there's a lot of kind of society stuff that comes with picking family, but it's actually, what is it about that family unit that fills your cup? And this is all about, when do you feel most alive, and that feeling of like when you just are feeling the most what is it about that activity, behavior, action that's actually ticking that box for us? And we can only understand it by getting really specific. So for you, Francesca, it's like, is it a day when you're having quality time with your family? Is it those moments when, I can imagine, you're reading your daughter a book before bed? What is it about those specific moments? Because that'll really help you home into what it is about the value. And this is where like the really like asking those questions and like homing in, like, oh, I was really felt in alignment when I saw my friends for the day. Okay, what was it about? Was it about those friends? What activities did you go? Where did you go? Were you inside? Were you outside? Like, it's actually like really like almost kind of layer, like really peeling and inquiring into those actions and behaviors. And we'll get there, but it's easy to just stop at the value in the word, but we're definitely trying to go a bit deeper with this. But thank you, that's really helpful.
I definitely, I like the idea of peeling it back. And I mean, one of my other ones was knowledge, and the words knowledge is power, and that stuck with me from someone that I worked with years ago. And I love that is a value of mine, but I haven't broken down
what
further
is it about knowledge?
Yeah. What knowledge. I like reading, I like this, and we have talked about like my education side, but yeah, I hadn't got as far as to break that down. So yeah, I'm really enjoying breaking down what it means to me, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is, like I say, with all of this content, like this is here throughout the whole program, so you won't have the answers before I move you on to like module 2. You won't kind of have it nailed, but it's about like going back. We're doing leader within next, so it'll be like going back from the leader within perspective and saying, well, what does this person think about my values? And then understanding the crew and being like, oh, what's that perspective? And being able to share these with family and friends as you go along and say, does this feel like me? And actually even saying it out in a group like this helps you understand if it's yours or not, because actually when you put the word and talk about it from your own language, you'll kind of get a feeling about, does that feel like me or not, or am I saying that because I feel like I should say that? So it's all part of that, really. Amazing, thank you. And Maria, last but not least.
So it's an interesting one because it didn't come through the test, those values, even though I did do it a few weeks ago, and one of the values repeated itself. And then it was almost, I just nailed them, bang, bang, bang. They came straight from my heart because it's very much linked to my current job situation. And those values were around perseverance, accomplishment, and appreciation. Okay, the 3 things that I've been lacking in my previous jobs, and as well as in my current. And so I straight away, remembered how I felt during my uni years, which I adored, which I was doing what I loved, and I was working 24/7.
on my course. I was up late at night, got up first thing in the morning just to finish some assignments, and then I would straight away get appreciation from the professors and the rest of the group for doing what I'm doing, whereas other people would not necessarily do their assignments. So it was around that feeling of accomplishing things, and even though it wasn't always too easy to accomplish them, it was through perseverance and my stubbornness that I would do them. So, and yeah, I think because I'm in the job that is not satisfying, I'm not enjoying, I'm not myself.
Yeah.
I'm not doing what I'm known for, though, to be a hard worker. So, and it's really bringing me down.
Yeah.
And I do appreciate that it's through the lack of these values that I feel this way. And recently, I've started acknowledging small wins as opposed to waiting until something big happens and I pat myself on the back.
Amazing.
If it's just doing a small task, accomplishing a small task, it's still a tick on my to-do list, and I applaud myself for it.
Yeah.
Rather than saying, "Oh no, it's nothing. It's just a really small nitty-gritty task."
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, amazing, thank you. And I think it's really important what you're saying there about us using, and I think these were some of the questions in the homework as well, around the peak and the trough experience in our lives. So using that time when we felt like completely like we're tingling from head to toe and like we could take on the world, and what you were doing, and also the times when we've really struggled in our lives and actually what wasn't present, because they give us ideas of like, oh, actually, okay, well, in that moment these were really present, but in that kind of trough experience moment these were lacking. So I think what you've kind of done there, Maria, is you've kind of found your values from that time of struggle or misalignment, but you can kind of do it either way really. But it's a really good way when we haven't actually worked through our values before, because it's almost drawing from past experience rather than trying to find them from somewhere when you maybe don't know necessarily where you're looking. Which is great, so thank you. Perfect, I love that. Okay, so I'm going to get you to do a little activity now. It'll only probably take you a few minutes, then we'll debrief it probably in some small groups. But this session today is about moving us on to action and behavior. So it's lovely to have a word, like, for you to be able to like list your values and, I've nailed it, tick box, done. It's about why I actually know that this value shows up in my life through X, through this action or behavior being present. So you can look at a week's diary and actually know when you were or weren't kind of in alignment with that, and what the conflicts are, right, as well. It's about what conflicts my value, because actually if I have a value of honesty, then it becomes very clear what the conflict is and what you then have to say no to. So it actually gives you a lot of answers around the shoulds being removed, and people that aren't, Sophia, what you were saying about people that aren't actually good for you or kind of encourage or on your path around supporting you to become who you want to be. The values become a really good steer with that, because the conflicting bit falls out of them indirectly, which is the bit I really love. So what I want you to do with your 5, I think most of you have picked 5 or however many you've picked, is I want you to just spend a few minutes just thinking about 1 to 10, 1 being 0, 1 being not at all, 10 being completely, how much you're currently honoring that value in your life today. A general day, so it's on average. So 1 is obviously maybe trust for me, 1 is not at all, 10 completely. And this will give you like that benchmark of like where you're at now. And that could be quite a hard question, because actually it's one thing knowing the value, it's 2 about, okay, how much do I adopt that in my life as it stands? And again, like I always say, let's not try think too much. It's about how does that feel on that scale, and giving a rough rating at this stage. Any surprises there? Anything that anyone's like, God, I thought that'd be higher. I'm really shocked. Is there an even playing field? Is there one that's slowly lagging behind? Anyone have any thoughts or want to share?
I can go.
Thanks, Lizzie.
So one of my values is honesty.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that's connected to freedom as well.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, freedom means freedom of mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And freedom of mindset can set us free emotionally and physically. And I put that down as like a 5 or a 6, because at the moment for me, I feel I've still got some old values that slip in. So you could call
maybe they're old beliefs rather than old values. Maybe it's a deep root.
Yeah, well,
belief.
actually, yeah. Well, I was trying to think about this because, you know, one of the things that I used to think was that in order to achieve or accomplish or become something or to progress towards something, you would have to be perfect at that role. You'd have to have all those skills. So I don't know, was perfectionism a value to me? That's what I'm thinking at one point in time.
Maybe, definitely. And I think perfectionism is a massive one though, isn't it? It's a massive trap. Like, we could just lose our lives to being a perfectionist and actually never get able to get close to actually what we want to achieve. And I think that's a really interesting one, because I think that's a massive collective excuse, actually, because it's seen as that positive, but actually it's really prohibiting us from so much potential, right? There's a lot of energy that's being wasted there if we're leaning into the things that feel easy. Perfectionism, where does that sit? You know, it's interesting perspective. So yeah, no, I think that's a really good point, Lizzie. And I think that 5 feels like a nice tangible growth area too, right? Of like, there's some work to do here. And Lizzie, question for you, and I guess everyone think about this for the ones you've just rated too. What would that feel like, look like, if that was a 10? What would be present if that was a 10?
I suppose, well, that my first value, which I talked about, which was joy, right?
Yeah. Okay. So that kind of gives you an idea of what we need to pull more of in to kind of then bump up. And another good question here is there a time in your life where that has been a 10? And actually reflecting back on what was present at that time in your life as well could be a good way of pulling, because some of us need to pull from past experiences because it's easier to kind of, rather than relying on that intuition and inner knowing. So there's 2 questions there, and you might want to pick the question depending on whether it's easier to pull from past experience or kind of you can kind of come up creatively with ideas. Was there any other surprises there, guys? Was there any kind of significant? We're going to go into a quick breakout room in a bit and just like brainstorm the lowest one and some ideas with someone else to get some kind of juices flowing here. But yeah, were there any kind of surprises on that rating scale from anyone else want to share?
I wouldn't necessarily say it's a surprise, but I guess it's just to think about what I can do more about it. Curiosity was one of mine. I like to know about people, places, and things. You know, what makes people tick, why, but about other things as well. And it was funny. It was actually the meditation when you were saying about if you wanted to be an astronaut, and would that make it? And it was really funny because we spoke last week about one of my I wanted to be an astronaut. I knew it was never going to happen, but I love space and everything. And actually, it was today that I thought curiosity actually is one of my values. It doesn't rate very highly at the moment, but it is something I want to work on. I think when I'm So I'm doing a master's at the moment. I've just finished the first year. I'm doing it part-time, and I'm very curious when I'm doing it, because I read and I get dragged into other things and I get very curious about stuff. So at the moment it's on a bit of a lull because I'm on summer holidays as such. But but how can I bring that when I'm not studying and sort of having to be drawn into books, not having to be because I am, but what can I do to bring that curiosity level up? How can I keep being curious?
Really beautiful, like pleasure
time.
too. A beautiful one to explore and lean into. You know, that's such a nice one to be able to just like play around with. And was there a time when it has been a 10, Francesca? Do you think maybe subconsciously without realizing?
I think maybe when I was, I don't know about a 10, but a lot higher, maybe when I was working not at home and not from home and actually going into London and being in an office. And I always think that I was really happy because I was working in events before and I was always out and about and I was exploring. And then being at home was lovely because I was always around, out of the house. And so being at home for the first year was great. And now it's extended. I'm not so happy. I can't be as curious because my house is my everyday and my everything. So being out in the world and exploring and going up into, I went up to London with my daughter last weekend and it was so nice to go to Hyde Park and see everyone and be curiously watching and sort of talking to her about, oh, look at that person over there. And so it doesn't necessarily have to be curiosity within books and education. It's just about the world around us and people and
taking it all
our
in.
perceptions of things.
And it's important for me to just make a quick reference here to accountability and habits again. So I talk a lot about the fact that we aren't just suddenly going to be able to like bring this value into our life by just suddenly labeling it. So what you've said there leads me on really nicely to say this kind of falls into like weekly structure and some commitments around actually the fact that you're going to bring this in action or behavior into your life through the values. So you might say actually like every Sunday I'm going to go somewhere new with my daughter for the next 6 weeks, because we say 21 days makes enough time to make a habit, but it's about the daily actions. It comes back to the daily actions, because if we can't do it daily or a few times a week or commit to that, it's very unlikely that we're going to be able to shift our behavior. So it's important that we're always thinking, okay, what does this look like in terms of the daily action? Because if we can't place it like that, it's going to be quite hard to shift the kind of old behavior to the new. Does that make sense? Yeah. So I kind of like what you've said there in terms of indirectly kind of being thinking about the when and I do a lot about accountability, and it's about like, okay, are you going to put that time in your diary when you're going to commit to that? Honoring joy, Lizzie, for example, so it becomes something you're making time for, you're fiercely protecting, that has a strong boundary around it as well. Amazing. Cool. Okay, I'm going to give you just probably 4 minutes to go into a breakout room. Zoom universe will decide, as always, and you're going to basically brainstorm your lowest, well, it doesn't have to be your lowest value, but the one you feel like, oh, I kind of don't want that to be that low, and I'd love to just throw some ideas around about how I can bring that through into my life more. But sometimes having a mirror here is really important, because we can get a bit kind of stuck with like, I have no idea, and then we can brainstorm for each other. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of time, if that's okay. Okay, and then you should get an invite. Off you go. Enjoy.
Definitely.
Mm. Yes. So I don't work on a Friday, so I'm trying to do things for me on a Friday. So so this Friday I'm having lunch with a work colleague who has just gone down to 4 days a week. She's
Amazing.
taken a leaf out of my book and gone to 4 days a week. So she said, let's go and have lunch. So I said, no, that sounds great. So we're going to go and do a ladies' lunch on Friday.
Oh, so much
That sounds
freedom
lovely.
and pleasure in that too. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that you've done, that's permission. You've given your colleague permission to go down to four days a week, Caroline. I love that.
Yeah, well, I think because I've talked about it so much and said how much I've benefited from doing it, because I realised that, you know, money isn't everything, and that
freedom to explore your new pathway too, and really embrace
exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. So, you know, it means, you know, I do a regular exercise session on a Friday, and, you know, as I say, go out, be in nature, go and have lunch with friends, go on spa days. So yes, so Fridays is now my sort of I think we call it the Friday feeling at work. So I'm trying to get more of a Friday feeling.
I love that. I love that.
And I think that sounds like that's the commitment that you've made. You know, Friday is your day to have more pleasure.
Absolutely, and I just think it's so important, and I think that so many of us don't do that, you know, because we're so busy sort of helping other people, we just forget about
it's
ourselves.
available to us. Like, you've constructed your own freedom there. Like, and I think a lot of this is around permission of, like, you know, when that's possible and you realize that's available to me, then actually opens up so many more avenues. And so many people are doing those 5-day weeks and they don't think anything else is an option. But if they got a bit brave and explored that, you know, it's about what's possible from that place. If you kind of just consider an option around it, which is what you've done, isn't it? You know,
absolutely,
really paying off.
Yeah, definitely. So I would recommend it to anybody. Go and do it. Be brave.
That's the word of today. Just be brave.
Just be brave. Yeah.
Definitely. I think you two will definitely connect more at some point as well, because it's funny you're in the same room, because Caroline is basically just launching her own business, Lizzie, spiritual coach. And Caroline, Lizzie's doing a lot with me around mentoring to deliver the journey within, get into the coaching space. I think you two have definitely lots in common in terms of your strategies moving forward as well.
Yeah, we can learn from each other.
Absolutely. No, I mean, it is. It's really, really exciting. So I've just got my business card, so that's really exciting.
Amazing.
And my tote bags are coming tomorrow.
Oh, that's so amazing. That's fantastic. It makes it all very real, doesn't it? I can't wait to hear about that.
Well, I can thank Molly for the design, because obviously
she's incredible. So Lizzie, Molly's the one that's done all my logos too, all the generation stuff. She's I think I feel like everyone knows each other weirdly, and I don't think they do a lot of the time. But you're probably aware of her because she does a lot of the community stuff anyway. But I feel like weirdly that everyone is going to be connected in some way. But anyway, I'm going to stop being kooky now and leave you guys to it. I'll bring you back in 30 seconds.
Okay.
All right. Amazing. Yeah, back. Sorry, I left you a little bit longer because I think there were some good conversations happening. Everyone's nodding. Yes. Right. I'm just going to say we're probably going to be between 5 and 7 minutes. So if anyone does need to leave, please feel free, because I know that I'm not very good at sticking to time, but I try my best. But if anyone does need to leave, please don't feel like you have to stay. But we're just going to debrief that bit and then give you a little bit of an idea as to what's coming next, if that's all right. So any kind of breakthrough moments about someone that mirrored something back to you, were like, yeah, that's it. That's what I need to do. I feel like Sophia's smiling and giggling. I want to know what you're thinking.
Yeah, I mean, we had a lovely, I was with Maria, we had a really lovely conversation. I think, for both of us, it was almost like a few light bulb moments of, oh, we need to go, like, be in communities, like, do things, like, doing things is better than nothing, and just kind of, you know, and like appreciating ourselves and things like that. So it was like a really kind of like, yes, we need to do this.
Yes. Yeah. And I think one thing I would say as well is like fiercely use each other as accountability. So if after the session today you go away and do some thinking about what this looks like, and then you want to give yourself, like, you know, a bit of a target or kind of like a bit of an accountability piece, feel free to embrace that and share that in the group, because then we can all say, like, Maria's like, yes, because we can all say, like, actually, how's that going, Sophia? You said you were going to go for a walk every day this week, you know, like, send me a picture. Like, it's about bringing that to life and sharing that with each other, for sure. Cool. Anyone else? Fiona, you're smiling at me.
I was just laughing about the pictures and going for a walk. I was just, I think it's always interesting when you chat to someone different, isn't it? And they just kind of give you different. I was with Jane, and she's like, what's the worst that can happen? Just do it. Just do it. What's the worst that can happen? She's like, literally just do it. Go on, Fiona. But yeah, it's just, I think sometimes just getting a different perspective. And again, I think it's always interesting from someone you don't know, because you know, like, they're not invested in you. It doesn't matter to them what you do. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's always a bit more refreshing, I think.
And
Thanks,
they might have a different perspective of the value. They might kind of think, oh, well, I see it like this, so why don't you try that? And it might be really obvious to them. So again, it's like a really great.
Yeah.
Sorry, I interrupted you, Janie. What were you saying?
No, Fiona's challenged me, to sort of mix things up in the day-to-day, because I was saying I'm not finding a lot of adventure or bringing out that playful side of me. It's maybe a bit dulled down. So just, taking a different route, or she was saying in the book, Think Like a Monk, that they had to go the same walk but find a different stone every day. So it's kind of just bringing in something new to your routine. So I've been challenged to do that.
Oh, I can't wait to hear. That's so
I love that one. I just thought it was so true. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Maria?
Another takeaway would be, I think, around the change, you know, which starts with you rather than with the people around you. You know, if you want to change, if something is lacking in your life, just see how you can bring it into your life with your own, with your own power. Try to find it within yourself and start changing yourself, and then people will also acknowledge this change and will start noticing it, and then thus honoring the values that are very important to you.
I love that. It's all available. Like, that's the whole proactive model, is all about the fact that you have everything you need within you. Everything that you need within you. It's just the fact that you've maybe lost it or disconnected from it, but it's all there. It's just reconnecting with those parts of ourselves, you know, and kind of really falling in love with them and realizing that they're there. And I think that's that's really important, isn't it? Rather than looking for them externally, which may get us so far, but actually it's how we lean on ourselves in all of this, really. I love that. Amazing. Thank you. Any other breakthrough moments? Any other thoughts?
Just going to say, I've just bought Think Like a Monk. It's going to arrive tomorrow.
Okay. I weirdly, the book list, like, it's quite hard for me to give one, because I think I probably read like 2 books a week. Like, it's so crazy. But audio as well, so not just reading. But yeah, I think those books definitely all have a place in this journey. But yeah, some you'll connect more to than others. Yeah, you're gonna love it. And the whole concept of that for me is that strength and weaknesses bit of like leaning into the stuff that feels easy. That was a massive breakthrough for me in terms of like, what if it's meant to be easy? Like, what if this stuff or like work and is meant to feel easy? That's a really interesting perspective, because then you're not looking for the fight all the time. You're not looking for the like, oh, yeah, this is meant to feel hard. And yeah, really interesting. Awesome. Okay, thank you so much for engaging so much with that. I feel like hopefully we've brought it to life a lot more in terms of what that means and feels like to you. The next week you're going to be basically doing a little bit more around this kind of honoring piece. You're going to be asking some of those questions again about the scale and really thinking about the actions and behaviors. So I think it will kind of move you on quite nicely. And then basically we're going to have a break next week, because we only have 3 calls and then we have a break every 3 weeks. And I think actually sometimes I do go all the way through, but I think with this one it's important to have a break, because I think it's a bit around playing this out and the trial and error around actually like having a bit of time for you guys to test out some of this in the real world and come back to us and be like, yeah, this worked, that didn't, this is how things are like look differently within 2 weeks almost. So we will spend a portion of the next call just kind of looking at some of those actions, behaviors, maybe new habits, as to kind of how things are operating differently, how they're actually kind of coming through and showing up for us. And then our next module is on Leader Within. And this is literally one of my favorite parts. Lizzie will be doing a lot more of this module with us because of the embodiment side of connecting with our leader within energy, which we'll kind of do through more meditation type visualization practices in the live group sessions. But yeah, the leader within is like you in your full power, basically. It's you in alignment on purpose with every single value. And once you can connect to that and you in that place, it's a great anchor for you to kind of pull yourself up in situations that are hard, or get through those days that maybe kind of everything is out of sync. You've kind of always got that internal resource to kind of pull yourself back onto the straight and narrow. And it's a different way, right? Like the values are very mindset based. This is a really internal tool. This is about pulling in like and intuitively connecting with a different energy. So again, like things might land more than others. So don't feel like you have to embrace every tool, but we're going to give you a whole collection of stuff to engage with as we move forward. So yeah, I hope that sounds exciting. When I mention Leader Within, people get a little bit like, ooh, but there is a visualization. I think the fact that we don't do anything on it in this session is important, because I want you guys to almost be able to just have your own experience with that before we kind of do it in a group session, because you're all going to have completely different ways that you kind of connect to that yourself, to be honest. So yeah, and I will as well send out the booking link for your first one-to-one. So at this point, when we move into month 2, we have our first kind of one-to-one session, but it's up to you whether you want to have that between now and the next call during that break, or you might say, actually, I want to kind of use that when I'm in the Leader Within module and then use that kind of as an output, or you might actually book it straight away because you really want to dive into values more. So I'll give you that option as to when you want to use that, but I'll send the link as to how you book that in the email that I send today or tomorrow. And yeah, that is it from me, I think. So I just wanted to kind of, yeah, leave like the last 2 minutes for just any questions or anything that maybe I've covered that doesn't make sense at all. And as always, I'm staying on if anyone wants to have a follow-up conversation.
Thanks, lovely.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, no questions. See you later.
Thanks, everyone. Have a nice evening.
Bye.
Lovely evening, everyone. Thanks, Natalie.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Natalie.
Hello.
Hey.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm